Let's get this show on the road. Oh yeah, there we go. Let me turn the music down for a little bit. Hey everyone, how are we all doing? New week, new platform. We're on YouTube now. A more permanent home because I'm done changing now. How is everyone doing in the chat? Gotta switch up stuff here. I think we're good now. All right, let me send out some reminders. Route 1. Hey, how's it going? Don't do mine tonight. I'll update for next week. Yeah, sounds good. I don't think yours is in here because it didn't have the tag, right? So that's all good. I'm only taking the ones with the feedback requested tag. So you should be good. Yeah, let me make sure that everything is running well in the background. Ba ba bam. Oh shit, another solo challenge is going out as well. Everything is dropping today, and then tomorrow we got a workshop coming out. Oh yeah. Stuff is popping off. How are you doing, Route 1? Feeling good? Let's have a look. Today we have a freaking amazing lineup of people that have showed their work. A whole bunch of people over here. It's gonna be an interesting one. Let's make sure that we got everything set up. Yeah, in the meantime, let's first talk about what's been happening. I've been working a lot on my personal work actually, which is kind of surprising. I've been having a lot of fun, especially since the last stream we did was so filled with the discovery of the packed level actor stuff. I've been converting all the blueprints to that new system. It works so much better now. So happy that that is a thing. What else did we do? I did more work on some of the roof tiles, but I wanted to keep most of that for the on-stream. Yeah, what else? Worked on something else that we're working on. Ooh, sneaky. That will be revealed soon. We're trying to get to a good place, and then hopefully we can reveal it soon. So it's gonna be exciting. So yeah, what else? Today's a new month, so we got a new solo challenge that just went live, like literally as I started to stream. We got Scott handling the solo challenges. He's putting out some interesting stuff for this month as well. I think this one is military, right? Let me link it for all of you to check out. Dun, dun, dun. You can just go over there and oh wait. Apparently it didn't went live yet. My bad. Sorry, Scott. Don't know if you're in here. Let me quickly fix that. But yeah, we got that going on. So a new solo challenge. I think we got 3 unique looking things that you can create. Going from relatively simple to more intricate. And then what else? Yeah, tomorrow we have the workshop with Florent Tuno. Going live for everyone. That was about lighting in a production environment. That was a really interesting one. Goes over like a lot of interesting topics. Can highly recommend checking that one out once it goes live on YouTube tomorrow. Let me first fix this little bug on the website. And what else? I think a couple days after we have the workshop with Yinuo Chen going live as well, where she talks about the stuff you need to know for your first year in the industry, which was super helpful as well. Yeah, a bunch of good stuff dropping actually. Freaking excited about that. Let's see. I want to do a quick fix here. Sorry about this technical difficulties in the background. Let me just switch it up here. Let's see if that did it. Now we have 2, so that's not good. Okay, let's try it like this. All right, so let's dive into some work in progress stuff. Enough delays. Let's jump straight in. Switch over my screen as well. Let's see here. So we've got Guy who's new in our Discord community, asking for some help on I think this is the second model that he ever made, so it's already looking pretty nice. I'm gonna drag in the UV layout as well that he's making for this little tank over here. Let's make sure that we have everything included. So he is asking, or Guy is asking for some feedback on this prop, together with feedback on UVs as well. So let's. This is a difficult one because I want to actually take a zoomed out approach and actually discuss something way more crucial first, in my opinion. So if this is your second prop that you've ever made, this is really advanced for your second prop. There's no real way of getting around it, you know. So I'm just gonna add it here. as your second prop, this is way too advanced, right? So second prop. The reason why I say it is at this stage, the chances of you getting this right and making it portfolio worthy are relatively slim. I know that that is potentially like a harsh thing to say, but what I'm trying to do here is to get you the best end result and something that's achievable as well. So that's why I want to open up with this topic, because it's such a crucial one. So I'm just gonna throw that out there. Pick something smaller next time, or maybe even now, right? Because the model looks decent. But there's a whole there's a whole bunch of stuff missing on the model itself. So I would honestly take a step back, scale it down, and focus on something that's more achievable. All I'm trying to do with this is set you up for success. Because this is a really tough one to create. So you have to keep that in mind. If this is your second prompt doing this ever, it's probably worthwhile to take a step back and to rethink what you're doing. Because this is really complex. Let me just something out here. Sorry for all the distractions. I know it's not that great, but need to get some stuff sorted for this first stream that we're doing. All right, sorted finally. So yeah, back to the topic. So pick something that's achievable for you, right? So make something that's achievable. I would say like even a jerry can or something relatively small, you know, something that's really achievable for your current skill set is probably something really good to get started with, rather than the whole tank. The reason why I wanted to discuss this first is because this goes into the question that you were asking as well, is would you give me some modeling feedback? And I would say that the basics are here, right? Like the structural foundations are there. But if you want to get like a really realistic result, there's a lot of work that still needs to be done. There's a whole bunch of stuff missing, especially from like the main shape, right? So the main shape is quite bare bones. And I'm gonna be honest here as well. I think that's because you kind of felt done with the modeling stage, like mentally. You just wanted to move on to something else. That's why we're now doing the UVs, right? So, but let me give you some actual tips if you wanted to create something so complex. Is you need like a load of references. So, reference is key. Hey Scott, how's it going? So yeah, reference is key. Because for all this stuff, like all these individual pieces of the tank, you ideally want to find as much reference as possible so that you can recreate it in 3D, right? That's what you're trying to do. Because the turret itself looks very, very basic, right? And it needs more detail than the detail that it currently has here. So if you want to make it look really good, right? So yeah, reference is key. Really try to distill the references and like all the individual parts. Like distill what you're seeing and try to translate that into 3D. So reference for details, main shapes, etc. So basically everything you're trying to recreate, you should have some reference for it. That's the most important thing here. Just getting the references right. And that's gonna help you. That's gonna help you find like the shapes that you're looking for, because the main shape really here is kind of struggling. So make sure that you get like references for that. Then go really into detail. You know, you got some blueprints here, and even on the blueprints, there's like a whole bunch of stuff that's kind of missing that you would need to build before going into the UV stage. Because what the normal pipeline looks like is you do the modeling stage, then you take that into UVs, and then you texture it. The reason why we do it this way is because once you go from the modeling to the UV stage, that means that your model needs to be kind of done, or like nearly done. Because if you then add UVs to it, UVs depend on the model. So if you change the model like halfway through, let's say you're UVing, that means that you need to redo the model because the UVs are based on that as well. So yeah, that means that once you leave the modeling stage, you need to be sure that the model is in a good space so that you can then take that to the texturing stage. Also, one thing that's very important here is that usually if you're baking things in Substance to then do the texturing pass on top of it, means you need a high poly as well. So right now what we're seeing here is that you have a low poly, which is low poly just means game ready, right? That's the geometry that's going to be used in the game. But normally what we do is we make a high fidelity map, or like a high fidelity model, which we call a high poly. And then we bake that down onto low poly. Right? So the high poly will be baked down onto the low poly. And for that to work, we need UVs, because it's going to translate all the high poly details onto the low poly meshes. Once we've done that, we can then take that to the texturing stage. And that's basically where most of the technical stuff is done, right? But what we're seeing here is that there's only the low poly. So that means that if we normally what we do with a high poly mesh is that we want to have like a high fidelity mesh so that we get rid of like all these rigid lines that we're seeing here. Right? But if we then start texturing, if we just start texturing it now, you will see those hard edges on the mesh. So yeah, just another reason why to maybe take a step back, maybe pick like a very simple prompt so that you can execute all the steps, because I know it's very tricky in the beginning to get over all like the technical hurdles because you just want to make cool art. Yeah, that's why I say take a step back, make it simple. Yeah, but that's sort of it on like the main workflow overview, right? So this was the workflow side. That's the workflow side. And then we kind of also talked about like the references and like reference gathering and all that stuff too, right? Now let's dive into some UV tips. So we're already seeing from like this amount of stuff right? Each square is representing one set of textures, which means that we have 1, 2, 3. And that's like 5, so that's 15, 19, 23 texture sets in total. Which basically makes this unusable in a game. I mean, not unusable, you can do this, but it's very unperformant at the moment. What we usually do, if we have a complex thing like this, that it is going to require a lot of detail, is that what we do in the UVs is we try to find areas where we can optimize it. And that means maybe applying symmetry to the model, right? So where we take the main seam of the tank body in this example, and then we basically overlay them on top of each other, so that if we then apply the texture to it, they're going to use the same texture, or like the same space in the UV. So way one would be to symmetry. Symmetry. Way two here, which is also really apparent, is that if you have a bunch of islands, I'm assuming that these are going to be the tank threads, right? Like these islands. If they're all going to be using the same kind of texturing, what you can do is just overlay them on top of each other, reducing, what do we have here? Like the 12 individual tank threads to a single island, right? Like a single shell. And you just, like with symmetrying, you just add them on top of each other so that they use the same space in the UV. And in this case, in your UV, this removes those 3 sets that you have to create, and you can just take this one that remains and just add that somewhere else. For example, here, right? And you need to take that principle and apply that to basically everything on the tank. As soon as something can be reused, or maybe even symmetry, like, it's probably good to do it. So yeah, so we got step 1, symmetry. Step 2, overlay. Overlay UV islands, right? Overlay UV islands. We're gonna keep it there for now. I would really think about potentially doing something like way simpler. Again, I know that I keep hammering on it, but I'm trying to save you like a whole bunch of time when I say this, right? I'm not trying to kill your creative spirit or your creative soul at all. I'm trying to set you up for success, right? Tanks are very complex. It takes a lot of time before you can master all the skills needed to make a tank. But I hope that some of these tips and some of these explanations helped you on your journey. And I'll add this to the thread as well, so that we can kind of discuss this in the community chat as well, so that I can give like additional explanation if needed. Hopefully this helps. Just save this out really quick. Okay, so that was number 1. I'm then gonna jump to Fabiano, because we have quite a couple of people asking for feedback tonight, which is nice. So Fabiano did this material for our last month challenge, which was terracotta tiling. A lot of people really like to do those terracotta tiles, even though that was one of the 3 things that we gave people to do. But yeah, this is the first. Let me get some context here. This is the first Substance Designer material made from scratch by Fabiano. So this is already looking really good. For the first time doing Substance Designer, this is looking really nice. Some quick takeaways here is, from what I can tell, is you're using the metalness map. So these terracotta tiles, they probably don't have any metalness added to them. So you probably wanna dial that down. The reason why I can tell is because in the reflections, if the reflections are colored, if they inherit the color of the actual object, that means that that is metallic. So that's why I think this is using metallic values. So yeah, that would be the first thing that I would say. You don't need metalness for this. Let me just add that here. Number one. No need for metalness. Number two, at least from the references that I've seen from terracotta tiles, you probably want to push them out like a little bit more. Right, because now they almost feel like normal tiles. They maybe pushing them out more doesn't. Let's see. What I think it is a lack of high definition. Lack of high definition. The grout being too big, so like the space in between the tiles. More of a question mark. And then also the top of the tiles feels very flat, so I'll add that to like number 3. Because this almost feels more like normal tiles, right? It doesn't really feel like it's like that nicely natural terracotta like floor tiling that has like a lot of natural elements, right? It has a lot of wear and tear and like a lot of definition on the surface as well. And that's kind of missing here. And I think a lot of that has to do with just like the surface definition itself, where you would expect like probably like a bit being like a bit bolder on the shapes. So yeah, that would be an interesting one to have a look at. That's number 3. I think those are like the biggest takeaways from just now. Again, for your first material in Substance Designer, this looks freaking awesome. So great job already on it. Let's see if we can find something else as well on these tiles. It's actually important to get some ref as well, but yeah, I don't have the ref on hand, so I'll go too deep into some of the stuff here. Yeah, I think those are the big ones. So the lack of real high definition, right? It kind of goes together with like the last point here, where the top of the tiles feels very flat. It doesn't feel like very terracotta tiley. The roughness variation is actually pretty good already, though. I think if we're talking about terracotta tiling, you probably want to make it a little bit less shiny in general, but I like the variation already. Let me point that out. It's specifically the roughness variation, right? Roughness variation looks great. Yeah, honestly, I think that's mostly it, you know? Like if you do a little bit more work on like the height and getting like a little bit more surface definition on there, I think we're in a really good spot over here. Yeah, cool. Got a couple more here. Since we're talking about materials, I'm probably gonna switch over to Jamie's one, which Jamie technically finished this material already, so I'm not gonna go too deep into this one. I'm just gonna point out like a couple of things. But overall, I think this looks freaking awesome. I love the pattern on this. Looks great. The pattern looks awesome. Then in terms of improvements, right? Like I think honestly, before we move on to that, I think the base feeling of this material is already in like a really solid place where it almost already feels like terracotta, right? I think the roughness variation could need a little bit more work, but like it feels very terracotta-y. And I think that's to do with the roughness, right? I think the base value of the roughness is really good. I think the roughness variation here so this roughness variation looks a little bit off. I think it almost feels more like it's not necessarily rain, you know? It feels more like it's like someone spilled like an energy drink or something like that. It has like a very sticky kind of glossiness to it. So probably make that a little bit more subtle. Subtle variation is always key. Unless that's the look you're going for, right? Yeah, honestly, rest of it looks nice. I like the height variation. I think the grout can use a bit more work. Feels pretty basic at this point. Maybe even have like sections of the grout like come up more than other sections, you know, so that you get like a little bit of variation. But only slightly more, right? Not roughness. Slightly more variation. Slightly more variation in height. I think that could definitely work. But I think all the rest of it is looking really nice though. Great job. I like the color variation. I think with the color variation, it looks really good now. You would potentially have to watch out when you add this to a game and you're seeing it tile a lot. You know, because the stronger the variation is going to be, the more you need to watch out for like obvious tiling issues, which can be broken up in like a whole bunch of ways. But I'm just going to add that. So The color variation looks nice. Then I'm just gonna add like watch out for tileability. Yeah, this is awesome though. Great job, Jamie. Let's see if there was some additional context to that as well. So work in progress. Oh, Jamie just removed that. What? Oh no, there it is. What? It was just on right now. Yeah. Haven't done a substance material in a while. Awesome. Yeah, this is looking great for not having done a substance material in a while. This is looking awesome, Jamie. Great job on it. Oh, maybe do some of your raw materials in the future. Yeah. Do it. Great job on this. Nice one. Oh, for the people in the chat, if you're new to this, feel free to pitch in with your feedback or ideas if you think about something and you're like, oh, you know what would make this awesome? Feel free to just add that to the chat as well. Or if you disagree with something I'm saying, feel free to shout that out too. And potentially, if you have your own things, maybe add it to the chat as well, if you're looking for some feedback. We might have some time left at the end of it when I can look at some other people's stuff. All right, let's have a look. So we had Guy, we had Fabiano, Jamie, because that was also a texture. So we have Tom, Hiram, and Core Bevel next. Let me start with this one. Core Bevel. Let's have a look if there's some additional context that we need to be aware of. This is called Project Sophia. Ground feels like it could be noisier, but the slabs are looking real nice. Yeah, I agree. Did a great job on the slabs. So good. Let's see, what's up for Core Bevel though? Scaled down city diorama set in Bulgaria. Inspired by Half-Life Alex. Okay. Currently looking for feedback to make the silhouette and the shape of the building more interesting from different angles. Cool. So, for context, this was the first one that Core Bevel shared, and then they added some additional ones here. Let me drag one in. Make that visible as well. Yeah, I think honestly, this already adds a lot, you know? Add a lot. It does add a lot of like moving away from this squarish template that you were using before. I like that we have like these wall pieces as well. Let me make a little bit bigger. I think the most important thing for me would be is that you add things to this building that don't break the believability of the building itself. What I mean by that is currently this section looks a little weird. I don't know why. It's maybe because I don't have all the reference here with me right now, but it doesn't feel like it fits like the image that I'm getting from um like a downtown setting. You know what I mean? Like maybe like a small balcony or something, but nothing as big. I don't know, I might be wrong. No, but this, I'm just gonna point it out. I'm gonna add a question mark though. Because I feel that this might be specific to me. But like this little section over here, right? Like it's specifically about this. Like if the building itself would have extended all the way over here, and then maybe see, I'm trying to think, right? So if this building extended, what would be here? Would that be like another street that goes down here? Maybe. Maybe there's like a little garden here. You know, so you have like a little garden section. Maybe there's like a bench here. Well, trying to think out loud at the moment. Like it would be nice to break up like all the chunky building stuff with something that is more natural, right? So like little bench, a little gardeny area, I guess. Scott is saying he said it was based on the Bulgarian city Sofia, but also meant to be in the Half-Life universe, I think. Yeah. I think it's more. Yeah, I think he's taking inspiration from the city and then transplanting it to be like more in universe with something like Half-Life, right? Like you're saying. Could I have a rooftop garden where the tarp thing is? Yeah, potentially. Potentially. Like I'm still trying to think about like the rooftop tarp kind of construction. Because I just feel like this whole thing kind of feels out of place, you know? And maybe it's just a construction on top of the roof. Maybe, yeah, maybe a rooftop garden could be quite nice. I'm trying to stick in my lane though, because Core Bevel tried to be very specific on like the silhouette of things, right? So let's see. Yeah, silhouette and the shape of the building. Okay. Oh, Corbell is in the chat. Hello. He's got the back half modeled as well, which is cool. Yeah, I like that. I'll drop the reference in the thread. Do it. I'll add it on screen as well. Oh wait, did I just glance past it because you added like a bunch of ref in the thread anyway? Have a look. Oh. Can't really see well on this picture. Yeah, there's something on the back of the building. I think, yeah, that's maybe also a good point. Maybe on the back of the building it does make sense. Okay, now feel free to still add the reference in there, right? I might still be wrong, but I'm gonna explain my thoughts here like a little bit clearly, a little bit more clear than I was doing before. Oh, there we go. Oh. Yeah, okay. I see now. So what we're looking at here is we've got this building here that has like a building on the back of it, right? So, all right. So this makes sense because if you think about the history of the building, the reason why it looks like it's chopped off is because it literally is, right? Oh wait, you're adding more stuff in the thread as well. Yeah, I think my point will still stand. So let me explain what I'm trying to say, right? So if I just get rid of like some of this crap over here. Too lazy to make my pen bigger. So the reason why I think that maybe this on-shoot is kind of weird is because you have this facade of the building, right? Which indicates that there was a continuation of this building before, but it got demolished or bombed or whatever, right? And then this little thing is like an add-on built by the people that live here, but why didn't they then build like all the way to the front again, right? Because if you would have, I know what you're trying to do, right? Like, and I know that you're trying to make the silhouette of the building more interesting than it is, but I think it's rubbing into the logic of the space at the moment where you would kind of expect the building to be flush with the street side. Because that's also what's happening in your ref, right? Like you've basically flipped the whole thing around. I'm trying to think. What if you add stuff to it though? Yeah, that's why this whole thing feels weird to me. Again, this is feedback. Always feel free to take or leave feedback, you know? If you think this is not logical at all, feel free to just leave it. But to me, it just like really rubs against like the logic of having this building destroyed and then they would probably build like this annexed little section but not make it flush with the street. Feels very weird to me. Even though you're doing it for like a more interesting silhouette. So, I'm trying to think about like a couple of solutions, right? Obviously the first solution would be to make it flush. But then you're trying to destroy like that would destroy like the whole reason why you did this in the first place, right? To make it an interesting, like a more interesting silhouette. So what if yeah. I'm trying to think, right? Because you could have this section and just move it to the back of the building and then be fine because that's what the ref is doing as well, right? If you look at it from the side, you can see the back of the building. Let me bring up this image right here. That's what's happening here, right? So this building got demolished at some point, and then this new ugly block just got dropped next to it. But they still have like that attachment at the end of it. So maybe that would be like a thing to explore, and then maybe you can do something more interesting with the side of it. Where you could potentially make it a street, or even extend the wall that you have on the other side, right? So you would have like a wall, maybe an opening here. I mean, it probably stretches out more, right? So that you have like a wall, like a perimeter wall just extending instead. And then you could do like a bunch of cool stuff where maybe there's like a tree here, right? That occupies this kind of space instead. And maybe you could turn that into like a little local play area. I don't know, there's so much cool stuff you can do with it, right? I don't want to go too much into the details because you got some awesome ideas from yourself. Maybe that would be worth thinking about. Like, it basically comes back to the initial idea of adding like a bit of nature to break up all this structural man-made stuff up, right? And then it makes sense. Like, this got destroyed, and then they decided to make like a public park or maybe like a little garden or something out of it. That could work. Plus, it adds like a bunch of contrast in the whole mix as well. Works really well too. But overall, though, whole sidetrack done. I like what you're doing with the whole wall, like the modular pieces. Maybe you could even add that in like as an asymmetrical detail, like only have walls on this side and then get rid of the walls here. So that it doesn't become just like a walled kind of thing, but you just have it like on one side. Yeah, Will is saying that too. Like, the silhouette is already looking really cool. Yeah, I like it. And I also like the proportions already. They feel really good. Yeah, it's just like this weird little building on the side. But I love what you're doing with the tunnel as well. It's looking really cool. Yeah. Yeah, honestly, I think you're in a very good position here. What do you think of the backside of the house? Let me bring that in as well. Oh, not like that. Just gonna add that here for now. Temporary thing. Yep. I like it. I like the little incut. I'm not particularly keen on the staircase. There's also no door. Just noticing now. So you would probably, it's a block out, right? So I always think about like things in like a logical way, well, like, as much as I try to, right? So maybe the door would be here, because if we're rejigging the whole thing to not be on the side but on the back, that means that this would extend, right? Maybe, yeah, maybe the door could be here as well. Because that's usually what you see in like smaller towns that usually have like a very, very old structure to them, right? Is that you have these like small alleyways that still allow cars, right? So this is probably where cars pass, but then you have like a door that that is basically coming out straight onto that little alleyway, which is it's pretty cool. Get a chat back up as well. It's in the tunnel. I don't think they actually. Well, about to say, I don't think they actually did that. I'm trying to think about like all the small towns that I went to. This is no Bulgaria, right? So I'm getting a lot of my inspiration from like travel that I did in like Italy and lastly Croatia. Yeah, let me see if I can find it real quick. Because there's some awesome pictures that I took there. Let me see if I can. Trying to think which city it was in. I think we got it here. My favorite picture. Let's see. This might be like a good inspiration for some of the stuff that you could like implement in your little scene, right? Just has like a bunch of cool stuff on it. Like it's very layered, right? Like there's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, it's your stuff is still in Blockout, right? So I assume that you like were trying to do like a bunch of this stuff, but this is an area that was kind of built onto from the medieval times, right? And they kind of build into and on top of like medieval structures. Oh, you know what? I'm picking up this friggin' photograph and hey, there's a door inside of the tunnel, so I was freaking wrong about that. I guess you could do that. Yeah. Also, think about what this tunnel would lead to, right? Like, you can do so many interesting things here as well. I'm gonna leave that up to you. Don't wanna share too much, but yeah, I like where this is going. I feel like this space is gonna be interesting depending on what you do with it. But yeah, I like it. I like it. Yeah. Yeah, no, cool. I'm just gonna let you do your thing though, right? Like, even the improvements that I've seen in like the last week are so good. So yeah, just keep doing what you're doing. Got a bunch of interesting ideas, so I'm just curious where you're gonna take them. All right. I'm glad we figured that out. I couldn't pinpoint what it was, you know? Sometimes it's rough. You have this feel and you can't put it into words. So annoying. Right, next up. Oh, before I go into that, Corbevel, thank you so much for putting this this online as well and requesting feedback. I really appreciate it. And I hope this helped. Thanks for taking the time. No worries. Happy to help. Next up, we have Tom Calcoon here, which is... He's working on like a freaking amazing looking sculpt over here. Love all the details in it. As I was collecting this, sculpt looks awesome, you know. Sculpt looks freaking amazing. So let me just add that before. So sculpt looks awesome. The next point that I'll bring up is it's a bit more personal preference, I guess. It depends on what your approach is in your workflow. I would have probably kept the finer detail to substance. However, that's purely personal, I feel. To me, it just feels like it saves like a bunch of time. Yeah, I love how clean this looks, you know? Very nice sculpt. Honestly, from when I was looking at it, like a little bit before the stream, the only thing that really stood out to me immediately was the low polyness of the ropes, right? But I guess if the rest of it looks so clean, I guess that was just like a minor thing, or you forgot to like res them up or something like that. Because the rest of it looks so good. Sorry, just looking at the dog, Natural's doing some weird stuff. Yeah, honestly, let me see. Let's see if there's any additional context here for awesome work that Tom is doing. Bring up the chatteroo. Making 2 sign posts. This is the block out and the concepts. Awesome. Oh, okay. So Tom is bringing up the same thing. Like, might rework some weird and noisy areas. Yeah, I honestly don't think it's too bad. I think it's fine for the most case. Like, maybe if you're looking at the consistency of all of this, like maybe this is like a contender for being too noisy. But I think you got like a good eye for that. So just follow your gut on that. It's nice. Yeah, honestly, not too much to add here, so I'm just gonna keep moving on. Like, this is looking awesome. Well, great stuff. I'm really curious to see the texturing of this and how you're gonna continue down the line. And this is also a set from 2 little pillars, right? So I'm curious how they're both gonna come out. Yeah, just amazing work. Keep it up, man. Looking nice. Sweet. And then last but not least, we have Hiram coming in. He's doing a realistic lighting setup. Let's have a look for some context. Still trying to figure out how to best handle the sky/background. I've been messing around with volumetric clouds. I plan to get a handle on volumetric clouds and introduce some fog sheets for more depth. Any and all feedback is welcome. Yeah, I think that's the main thing that I would say is including more separation, right? And that's what you're gonna do with the fog sheet. So that's awesome that you already have that. Have that in mind. So fog sheets would be awesome, or are gonna be awesome because you plan on implement them, right? The thing that I will say though is this path is really dark. And I mean dark as in the base color is really dark compared to its surroundings, right? It's almost like it's, I don't know. I was thinking maybe it's a tablet, but I don't think so because I looked at my ultra screen on this. Yeah, it just feels like way too dark for what it should be. So picking like a lighter color for this would probably work. And we're getting into the weeds of things, right? But it depends on what kind of story you want to tell. A path or like a path that's laid out this way always it doesn't always, but like it indicates that people have been walking on this continually, right? Especially with the snow happening in the background as well. Normally, if there's only like one person a day, let's say, this path is not going to be as visible as it is now because it's still snowing. So I'm just gonna write that as well. So I think it's always a question of like how many people walk here, right? People walk here, and especially since it's snowing, right? With snow falling. Again, you can see I have like a very, or I try to be as logical as I can. You know, when I'm thinking about this, it's like, okay, this path is really, really bright, or like really visible. Like, what's the logic behind that? Is that even logical? And I don't think it is in this particular setting, especially with the snow falling. Yeah, I love what you've done with the skull here. Oh, well, not a skull, but like the head. It's almost. It's almost a shame that we don't see like other elements of this human body, or like this giant human statue lying around, you know? Because it would kind of be awesome to, I don't know, maybe include like a finger or like a hand, like in the background. It doesn't need to be much, right? You don't want to take away from like the main thing. But yeah, I think that's great. The way that it's going there now. What I would also look at is the presentation of this. Like if you want to present something really cinematic, you need to think about your aspect ratio. And I keep dropping the ball on this because it's so confusing to me. Setting it up in Unreal, but what Raj always says like 23 by 9, right? 23 by 9 as like an aspect ratio. This is like, I think it's like widescreen cinematic or something like that. And then sounds like a stupid thing, you know, but like add black bars. You would add like a black bar here. And it's such a stupid trick, but it works. Just works so good. See if we can quickly give it a try. Right, so if you add a black bar, if we fill that with primary. 21 by 9. That's the one. What is it doing? Oh shit. No. hate switching between programs so much. Okay, let's copy this. Let's go back. Paste this again. Yeah. Kind of a stupid trick, but it does help with making it feel more cinematic. Scott's coming in with the great information, so he's saying 21 by 9. Thank you, Scott. 21 by 9 or 235 by 9. And you can play around with your sensor width and your sensor range inside of Unreal to get to that aspect ratio. But yeah, that would be the first step. Then second step would be to add black bars, and then also I would say a vignette for this. But you don't need to go too crazy on this specific environment, because you already got like a natural vignette happening with the trees, right? So you don't have to go all too crazy with it. So think, I don't know, usually my starting point is like setting it to like multiply and then like 15% or something like that as like an additional layer in Photoshop. You can do it in Unreal as well, but yeah, just try to be like very subtle with it. Then last thing I'll add here is yeah, really fine-tune the post-processing of it. Color lookup tables are awesome for this. I love using them. More recently, I've kind of done it like by hand, but I wouldn't recommend that. Like, color lookup tables are so good to use. So let's see. Yeah, you had a question too, right? So about the sky in the background, there's a whole bunch of ways that you can do like a nice looking sky in background. If let me think, what is the way that I would do it? Yeah, there's always a whole bunch of ways of doing it, right? Like, I would probably do the same thing as you and like try to go with like volumetric clouds and see if I can get that working. There's a pretty good system in Unreal Engine now to make that work and like even like artistically like paint them out and in whenever you want to. So really diving into that system would work well. But now that I think of it, I haven't done that for like a while. Like not even on the latest project. So that might be like a thing to explore for myself too. But yeah, the fog sheets are gonna help. Especially for the background, if you can get that like nice separation, or even like fake that the clouds are like touching the mountain or something like that, that would be freaking amazing. You got some cool like ground clutter objects going on. You might want to increase the amount of them. If we're talking about that now, right? Like you have some like nice branches and some nice stones. Like just increase that. I don't think that hurts. Depending on how many variations you need, but the reason why I say that is because especially here, like it's missing like a lot of detail, you know? So ground clutter could be like a way to explore this a bit more. What you can also do is make snow meshes that already include like detail, and then use them as like static meshes in your environment. What I mean by that is that it would be kind of awesome to have like more like snow buildup like around the trees, you know, and you can do that with like a simple mesh, you know. You just have like whoop, a mesh that kind of does this. It kind of has like a nice breakup around it, and then you just sink that into the tree. And you can like scale it up or down for like a bigger, like a more exaggerated slope or not. You could kind of use that. Obviously, you have to be aware of like the transitions between the edges of these meshes and the edges of your terrain material. But I'm sure that you can make that work. The easiest option is to just be careful where they intersect and only use it on like the terrain material, or just expand the terrain material a little bit. And these meshes are so versatile because you can, once you have one, you can kind of use them all over the place, right? Like if we look at this little section, if you didn't sink them in here, and you kind of have this nice build-up going around, and you add another one here that kind of introduces like nice build-up here. Yeah, you can do a lot with meshes like this. And this is primarily, I'm saying all of this because landscape can only get you so far, you know? Like usually we try to stretch the limits, but it's not going to work. Not for some of the stuff that requires more detail. It kind of seems that you're already using some of it. So yeah, just increase the regularity of it, and like really try to break up landscape that kind of looks like it's just like a flat plane with just like a transition between two materials. For snow, this is tricky though. So that's why I say like the snow meshes and maybe some more clutter on the floor, like these pebbles or rocks in like different size and scales could work well. Yeah. Awesome work, Hiram. And thank you so much for sharing your work with us as well. This is awesome. And I think that was all for this week from the community. If this is your first time being here for this live stream, feel free to drop your work in the chat as well if you want to get some feedback. I know it's kind of out of the blue that I'm asking this, but always feel free to do that for these work in progress streams. Let's have a look. So we had Fabiano, we had Guy, the Tank, Jamie, Tom, Hiram, and Corbevel. Awesome. So just to let you all know, I'm going to be posting all of this in the community chat, and I'll add like a little bit of an explanation to it, and I'll also share like the timestamp of like the current stream to it, so you can easily find it again. Yeah, just a shout out to everyone who shared their work today. Thank you so much. Let me switch over. What? Gianni Carpinelli! Welcome to the chat, and welcome to the community as well. Happy to have you with us. I posted one in the WIP channel. Okay, let's have a look. It doesn't update when I have the filter on. Sorry about that. Hold up. Oh, there we go. Okay, it took a while. Figured I dropped this in here. Yeah, let's switch back over. Thank you so much for posting that. Okay, let's grab these images. Let's discuss them a little bit. Ooh. Like what I'm seeing. Okay. We got this screenshot here. I'll add the other one as well. Awesome. Scale it up. So if you want to drop your work and you're not a member of the community, feel free to drop a link. This is the first stream we're doing on YouTube, so I don't know if they have anything like where you can't post links. Not sure. Or I guess what we could do is I could wait. Let me know if that works. Like if a link works. If not, we'll come up with another solution on the fly. That's fine. Johnny, thank you so much for posting your work. Let me read through some of the context here. Figured I drop in while I'm watching the stream. Awesome. I never intended to be this full environment. I was testing out some rock sculpts. I recently modeled an ornate pillar for practice, and I wanted to learn how to implement RVTs, so I had eventually pulled everything into the same project. Okay, so you're basically combining like all your little projects into one big thing. Been really enjoying the process, but not in love with the composition. Looking for feedback. Should I continue and salvage this, or should I take what I've learned and move on? What could make it better from a composition and storytelling standpoint? Or is it lacking most visually? Okay. Let's dive into it. So you've got a bunch of great stuff already happening in here, right? And I don't think it will be too hard to compile this into like something that looks really good, because it has good elements to it, right? It's just we need to figure out a way how we're gonna tie the story that you're trying to tell with this column in the back, right? Like this focal point here to whatever the hell's happening here in the foreground with the walkway. I think what could be interesting, if we think about it from like a storytelling aspect, right? What could be interesting is that if you take a step back and really think about the story that you're trying to convey, the first thing that pops into my head is that this is like a secret shrine from like a group of people, let's call them a cult, that worships whoever this person was, right? And then this is like the location where they kind of leave what do they call it? Like bribes or like offerings to this person, or like to this god to appease them for like their next whatever they do, right? But that means if we want to go with that story, we need to think about like, okay, what do we need here then? We need to make this some sort of location that looks a bit more like it could actually be like a sacrificial or like an offering place, right? And then this walkway that we see here can then be used to indicate that this either is still there, or this is like a fallen civilization or like a fallen group that that they just rediscovered in like an archaeological sense. And the way that we do that is very simple, right? Like if you continue the walkway, so let's say the walkway takes a turn, connects to this little platform, then you can kind of make a you can kind of bind the two together of like, yeah, this is still like an active thing. But if we do the opposite way and we say like, hey, look, this is not active anymore, this is just a shrine that's been recently rediscovered, then you can take this walkway and kind of just break it up into pieces, right? You would have like little struts, and then you have like a piece that's like in the water. Then maybe there's like a little section here. Maybe this is also way more broken up than it is now, so you remove a couple of planks from it. right? And then you can, because that's what I love about like wooden structures. They're so versatile. You can really quickly make like something really interesting out of it. Right? And then this place, I would potentially I would potentially get rid of the pillars and just make it all about the statue itself, and then maybe even lift him up, or like lift him up on like a pedestal. Right, so you kind of have like a person on like a pedestal with like rock formations behind him that maybe have like little cutouts. If you imagine this being the rock wall, you could have like little cutouts that have like little pits of fire in them. Right? That they've just cut out of the rock surface. Right? And then whatever you want to add in here, right? Like basically what we've done up until this point is just make sure that the logic is kind of there. And then what we can do is add on to this template, but that's what you have to do. You have to tell the story that you want to tell. Right? I feel like most of it that I've done is just make sure that the foundations are there. And right now what you can do is make sure that, yeah, you can take it in the direction that you want. This could be, for example, let's write down a couple of questions, right? So, who are these people? Before we dive into some more questions, let me make sure that Nisso is also able to drop their work as well. Does that work with the linking, or should I find another way? Because I can send you like my Discord tag, and we can send like a private message that way. Probably the quickest way for now. Then I can look at like all the linking stuff at the end of it. Johnny, that makes sense. Awesome. So, yeah, feel free to let me know, Nisso. So, okay, let's dive back into these questions then. So the first one was, who are these people? Right, so that's number one. Because that's going to give an indication of what time they live in. I mean, the wooden walkways already give like some sort of an indication of what time they live in. But if we really dig into like who these people are and why they have like a secret hiding place, we can extract some interesting information from that to then make props that fit that story. Right? So I'll give you an example. If this is, what could be a good example? Let's say, first thing that comes on the top of my head, let's say this is a shrine that's dedicated to the person that killed like a water monster or something, right? Because we're in a cave, or maybe the first person that explored these caves that are now like the home of these people, but he died in like a tragic accident recently. But he basically started the whole thing there, right? With that sort of information, we can already tell like, okay, so this person was an explorer, right? Because he founded these caves, like, and that's basically made it their home. How did he die? Like, did he drown, or was there something else that happened? Maybe you can tie that into the story. Yeah, what is it driving, like what drove the people to this new home, right? Why was the outside so bad relative to the caves, and how did they survive in the caves? You know, there's a lot of cool stuff that you can get out of it. So yeah. What is people, let's say, what drove them here? What drove them here? And then number 3, let's see. Why is that statue here, right? Or yeah. When I'm thinking about all these questions, I'm trying to think about what I can kind of get out of them, right? Because it doesn't really matter which question you ask yourself, as long as the answer to the question results in interesting things that you can translate into 3D. That's basically all I'm trying to do here, right? Also, just to quickly elaborate on why I wanted to get rid of like the back of this, is because in my story that I wanted to tell, it didn't really fit. I think in general, like the two things of like a wooden walkway and then having these like Roman-esque, like the Roman-esque architecture in the back of it, like it clashes too much for me. However, saying that, if you can find a way to embed the Roman-esque architecture way more into it, that's also a perfect choice, right? You'll need to do, again, the same exercise as we just did, but try to support why that architecture is there, to have it make sense in the whole thing. So yeah, I decided to like, this is, I mean, if we zoom out a little bit, this is what I'm always trying to do. Like you don't want to layer complexity when it comes to like visual storytelling, because it quickly lends itself to like speculation, right? It's like, and not the good kind, I guess. It's more like, oh, why is that Romanesque architecture here? And there's also like barrels, and there's also like a light that looks like fairly modern, like next to it. Like, how do these come together, right? It becomes very confusing for people. And the way that I did that is just like focusing on the stuff that was already there and just distilling it to the core. Yeah, I hope that helped, Gianni, and thank you so much for posting as well and joining the community. I appreciate it. Oh, sorry, I didn't read your last message. You should mention that the shrine area is still very much block out geo. That's good. I potentially saved you some time there. Because the rocks do look really awesome, man. They look really good. A great job on that. And this stuff too, right? Like the wooden walkway looks awesome. With the rope and everything. Looking great. Awesome. Let's see, is there a way I can see who's still in the chat? Because I fear that I might have let Nisso down. Sorry about that. That makes sense. Too many themes on top of each other. I originally thought of this being more of an ancient cave that smuggler group had found and turned into their hideout. Yeah. I mean, if you still want to tell that story, you could tell that story still, right? But then I would honestly get rid of the shrine itself and and make uh and make it feel more like a smuggler hideout instead of like the angle that I went with, right? More like um bold shrine kind of thing. So yeah, you can still go that route if you wanted to, 100%. Yeah, that's the thing that I love to do, especially when it goes on about like creating environments and telling stories. Like I can come up with like a whole bunch of stories, but it needs to be something personal, right? If it inspires you and it supports what you wanted to say anyway, that's freaking amazing. But I don't want to take away from the stories that you want to tell either. Awesome. Doo, doo, doo. Awesome. I think yeah, I think we missed Nisso's work. Yeah. Aladdin! I hope that I pronounced that correctly. Hey, I love your videos. You guys who inspired me to go and specialize in environment art instead of making everything like characters. Hey, that's awesome. That's amazing to hear. Glad we could help. I mean, yeah, I had to find that out the hard way that I didn't like characters. Because I made a couple and I was like, not for me. Bye-bye. Like, I just stopped making characters after that, I think. So, what is everyone working on? Like, everyone working on some cool environments? Name the stuff that you're working on. I'm quite interested in hearing everyone's ideas and what they're working towards. I'm it's kind of confusing now, right? Because I used to stream on Twitch. Well, used to make it sound like such a big deal, but I'm gonna start streaming my work on here as well. I've been working on like this medieval scene for like a couple of years, just having fun with it, you know. And yeah, it's been awesome actually. I'm having so much fun. I think this is the first time where I really enjoyed just the process of creation, and I'm not really too scared about like finishing it or like rushing to finish it, you know? Like it's more about like actually enjoying the things that I'm making. Yeah. It's been great. Yeah, just for people that are new here as well. Like I do these work in progress Wednesday. I mean, they're called WIP Wednesday for a reason. I do them every week. And from this week, we're on YouTube. So every week from this point on, we'll be giving people feedback if they want to, focusing on the people from the community first, and then hopefully we can make it a little bit easier for people to share their work in here as well. I'll need to check out the linked stuff. That insane. It's not that I don't like them, it's that I realized that I don't want to go full time with making characters. Yep. Yeah. That's good. I'm actually making an apocalyptic train station. Oh, nice. That's awesome. So chill to work on, and I hate anatomy. I totally agree on that. Yeah, so I think how many people did we talk about today? 3, 6, 7 people. Give 7 people feedback. So I'm gonna round this off here. This was almost 2 hours just talking about people's work, giving feedback. So thanks all for being here. I'll be back on Friday. It's gonna be earlier though. Like usually I stream during the day when I'm just working on my stuff. So yeah, catch me on Friday if you want to watch that. And thanks for being here for the first stream on YouTube in a while. So appreciate everyone being here, and I'll wish you all a great day. Bye bye.